Hello and welcome everybody. This is Praveen Tyagi broadcasting live from New Delhi. If this is the first time that you are visiting my webinar, then let me give you a brief introduction about myself. My name is Praveen and I did my engineering from IIT Roorkee. Then I went on to do my master's in computer science from US. And then I came back and I started a lot of educational institutes and a lot of career counseling centers in India. This webinar is about 5 power tips that you need to know to crack the new pattern of IIT JEE. Okay? So I'll move on to the first power tip, and that is love science. See, in my past, I must have mentored and taught more than 1,000 students, and a couple of hundred out of those would have cleared IIT JEE also. Right? And one thing that was common to all those aspirants who had cleared IIT was that all of them really liked to study science. See, to begin with, try and remember the last time when you had this question in your head as to which subject you should take after 10th class. You would have been faced with the challenge of taking either commerce or science or humanities. And something must have crept up into your head saying that you should take science. Somebody from outside, somebody inside your head, something must have prompted you to take science, and that is why you ended up taking science. So let's look at it as the outside influence. Let's look at how somebody else outside your brain can influence you into taking a decision like which subject you should read in 11th class. Now, it could have been a parental pressure, maybe your mom and dad. They would have wanted you to become an engineer or a doctor or something related in the science field. Or it could have been one of your friends. See, most of the students take science because they think that taking science is like a cool thing. You know, they've taken science. Mom is going to go out for a walk in the evening, then she's going to meet your friend's mom. They both are going to have a chat together, and then they're going to discuss what subject you have taken in 11th class. So if your mom replies saying that you've taken commerce, then the other auntie is going to feel that you would have got a lesser percentage in 10th class, and that is why you ended up taking commerce in 11th class, right? So that could be one reason. The second reason can be that all of your friends are taking science. Everybody around you is taking science, and they feel that there are lots of other options available in science than commerce. And that is why you took science, right? So it could be one of these reasons. But was really the reason that from the bottom of your heart you want to take science, that you genuinely are interested in taking science? A lot of students are not, right? Some of you might be really interested in taking science, and that is why you've taken science, which is a good thing. But for most of the students, they really don't think like that. See, let me explain it to you in a simpler manner by taking the example of Sachin Tendulkar. See, Sachin plays excellent cricket because he doesn't have to think for a moment that he is playing cricket out of a reason. He did not have a reason to start playing cricket when he was young. As a little child, his aim in life was not to become a 100 crore fellow or a billionaire by playing cricket or by giving out a lot of TV ads, TV commercials where he would make money. That's not what he saw when he was a little boy. What he saw was the playing field and his cricket bat. That is all he knew. And from the bottom of his heart, he wanted to become a cricketer. And that is exactly my point. I want you genuinely from the bottom of your heart to like the 3 subjects, physics, chemistry, and mathematics. And then you will see you will go a long way. See, another point in science is that a lot of students don't know why they're studying science. Okay, what is the purpose of studying science? So let me tell you about science. It is the study of nature, right? And you can only study nature by being inquisitive and interrogative, right? You need to ask questions again and again as to why things happen the way they happen. So let's see if you are inquisitive enough or not. Okay, so let me ask you this small question in mathematics. This question would have already been taught to you in your class 11th by now if you're a science student. And the question is, what is the meaning of a complex number? Okay, very simple question. What is the meaning of a complex number? A lot of students would tell me that, sir, complex number is a number z written in the form of a plus iota b. And I asked them, what is I, what is iota? So they're going to say I is under root of minus 1. Well, my question to you, my dear friend, is that if under root of minus 1 is iota, right? Whereas in 10th class, taking the square root of a negative number was not allowed at all, then how is it possible that in class 11th, under root of minus 1 is allowed? Okay, that means you have not been asking your teacher as to why I can be equal to under root of minus 1. Okay, so you need to ask this question to the teacher. I am sure that they would know what under root of -1 or where it comes from. Okay, so let me tell you very briefly that a complex number is nothing but a point in a coordinate plane. It is just a way to represent x comma y. That is all. Just to remove the comma and put another separator between x and y, some such separator that really does not exist in the real world. And what is the best way to do that? By taking the help of under root of -1. So therefore x comma y will become x plus iy. Okay, so that is the end of the first tip. Tip number 2, identify the right coaching for yourself. See, now that you are either in the 11th class or the 12th class, I'm sure that you'd be looking out to joining a coaching institute for IIT JEE, right? Almost everybody who wishes to get into IIT thinks that getting into a good coaching will be a sure shot way of getting into IIT JEE. But let me warn you, my friends, that is not the case. A coaching can only guide and mentor you. You yourself will have to work hard to get into IIT finally. Okay, so the word of caution, I will be giving you some tips. Okay, it'll be up to you to follow those tips and advices. Okay, so the first tip is that if you are thinking of joining a coaching institute because your friends or your peers are joining that coaching institute, that is not a good thing. Okay, so always think about the place where you're going to study. Okay, not your friends. Okay, your friends would be going there for some other reason. They might be going in because their friends are going, and that's a chain. But the points to note about which coaching program I should choose, the first point is, what is the classroom size in which you are going to study? Is that classroom size going to have 100 students in it? Is it going to have 200 students sitting together in one classroom in front of one teacher? Or is it going to have only 30 students? Now imagine a situation in which there is one classroom in which there are 30 students only with one teacher, and there is another classroom with 200 students and one teacher. Sitting in which class do you think you'll be able to understand better? I am sure you already have guessed what the answer is, right? So that is the first tip. You should know where you are getting the most attention. Second of all, you should know that a coaching institute, as I mentioned earlier, is only a means to guide and mentor you. The final hard work is going to be done by you. So a teacher in a coaching institute only is beneficial from the problem solving point of view. See, 80% of the time that the teacher spends in the coaching institute trying to teach the student, he is only doing concepts and theory. And that concepts and theory would have already been done by you in your school. If you would have been paying attention to your school studies, then that 80% of the time that is being spent by you in the coaching institute would not be required. Only the 20% time where the teacher is actually doing some extra problem solving is the genuine good quality time that you really need in the coaching space. The third most important tip for you to choose the right coaching program is whether it coincides with your school studies or not. Right? See, a lot of schools teach something else in the morning, and in the evening when the student goes to a coaching institute, there's some other topic happening. So that student will get confused. In the morning, you were taught complex numbers, and in the evening, the teacher in the coaching program is teaching you, let's say, trigonometry, right? So now the student does not know whether when I will go home, I should read complex numbers or whether I should do trigonometry. There is a test tomorrow in your school on trigonometry and day after tomorrow on complex numbers in your coaching class. Which topic do you think you should study today? So that's a very major disappointment or a confusing point for a lot of students. And the fourth important point to keep in mind as a word of caution while choosing the right coaching program is that if you are going to choose a branch of a well-renowned institute which has its main branch somewhere else, then you should know that the coaching institute is made up of teachers, right? So that institute might not be having the same good quality teachers that they have in the main branch, right? The coaching is governed by or judged by the quality of teachers that are there. So don't go in for the brand, go in for the teachers, right? So that would be my tip number 2. Tip number 3, be among the top 5 in your class. See, as you might be aware that IIT JEE pattern has changed once again. In 2013, you can only write IIT advanced paper if you stand in the top 20 percentile of your board. Do you know what that means? That means that you should be amongst the top 20% of everyone who is writing the board paper. So let's start with the school exams. If out of a total of 50 students, you do not fare among the top 5 in your class, then how can you stand a chance to be in the top 20 percentile in the entire state board or the entire national board exam? You can't, right? So you should keep a check on that. Also, historically speaking, if you ask me, every student, every one of my student who was my student and cleared IIT was a topper by default in his class. So it's no surprise if you are not amongst the top 5 or the top 10 in your class, you stand a very low percentage chance to get into IIT. Tip number 4, master your NCERT. So as you're aware that the pattern of IIT JEE has changed, and starting from 2013, a lot of emphasis is going to be given only on your NCERT books. See, the reason why IIT JEE pattern changed and more emphasis is going to be given on the basic school books is because students were neglecting their school studies in the thing of preparing for IIT JEE and competition exams. So my tip is that if you are not well versed with your NCERT, then you'll not be able to solve the questions that are going to appear in the 2013 exam. Right? So look at the NCERT, especially the blue boxes and the extra special attention sections which are there, which a lot of students skip, thinking that these are out of the purview of NCERT and might not be asked in the board exams or even the competition exams. My dear friends, a lot of questions come directly from those blue boxes in an NCERT. Okay, so pay particular attention to those blue boxes. Okay. Secondly, let me tell you about what if a student has already finished the NCERT. A lot of you would be having this question in your head that if I've already done the NCERT, then do I stand a very good chance to clear IIT? Well, only NCERT also is not going to be enough for you to get through IIT JEE. Okay, the questions that are asked in IIT are mixed up from different topics. Now what I'm trying to say is that one question that comes in IIT might not be directly coming from one chapter in your NCERT. It would contain concepts from 2 or 3 different chapters. That means you have to be clear in your concepts in all of those 2 or 3 different chapters before you can even attempt that question. Okay. So after you complete your NCERT, what I suggest to you is that you should go over to some other material like the Merit Nation study material for IIT JEE to clear those kind of problems, to be able to get more practice into those kind of problems. Hence, reading really high funda material like like the physics book I.E. Irodov or Resnick Halliday, some such stuff is really not required anymore. IITs will not ask very high funda questions from you. They will ask only very basic conceptual questions which will only hit the purview of NCERT. Tip number 5, look into your weaknesses. So as a student, you definitely would have faced a lot of situations in which you like one chapter and you don't like another chapter, right? By liking, I mean in terms of difficulty levels, right? So there are a lot of chapters which you find very difficult, which you would be delaying reading, or you would say that, I'll look into this chapter later on, or I will look into this topic later on maybe. I'll do the easier ones first because I like them and I can finish them fast. And those topics which are difficult, I will take them up later on when my exams come or when some other occasion happens. So my tip to you is that why don't you do the things which are difficult first so that later on you will enjoy a cool and a much lighter time while your exams are going to happen, right? So always plan your studies in a way that never procrastinate or never delay any topic just because you find it difficult at that point in time. See, as an example, I'll take myself. When I was a student in my class 11th, I delayed studying the chapter on permutation and combination because I used to find it difficult. And I said I'll look into this chapter later on. And what happened was that even at the end of the 12th class, I was not clear on that chapter because I could never find the right time to clear those concepts or that chapter. Hence, you should do the more difficult topics first because finally your efficiency should increase as you go on to approach the entrance exams. Also, if you were to do the difficult topics before your entrance exam, then that will most probably end up messing up your concepts. Thank you so much everybody for listening to my 5 tips. And now that we are almost over with the tips, I would like to give you one additional bonus tip. That's going to be my tip number 6. Revise your basics. A lot of students enter the class 11th and 12th with the understanding that in IIT JEE, 11th and 12th syllabus is the only thing that is going to be asked. Well, my dear friends, this is news to you that IIT JEE is going to ask you anything out of your class 11th till class 12th syllabus of science and maths. That means that all those basics that were taught to you in the class 6th and 7th and 8th and 9th and 10th, everything is going to get asked in some form or the other inside each and every question in IIT JEE. Right? So a lot of students ask me this, that sir, if you are saying that they will ask questions out of class 6th, does that mean that they're going to ask straight questions out of the number system chapter, like what is rational number and what is irrational number? Well, that is really not the case. What you need to know is these are basic concepts, like what is a rational number. If you think that a rational number is a number in the form of p by q, then what kind of numbers do you think are p and q? You should know the answer to that question. If you know p by q where p and q are integers, then you should also know that q is not equal to 0. If you know that q is not equal to 0, then there is one other thing that you should know about rational numbers. And what is that? That p and q are co-prime numbers, right? You should know the entire concept to the core. A lot of students do not know this. Okay, so my advice to you is that you should know the entire concepts from at least class 6th onwards. If not from class 6 onwards, then realistically speaking, you should at least revise the basics that were taught to you in your previous class. Okay, so that would be my most important advice out of all the 5 or the 6 advices that I've given you so far. So in a moment, I'll go on to answering your questions live. But first, let me tell you that even after this webinar, I will be available to answer any queries that you might be having. I can be reached at my email address, praveen.tyagi@meritnation.com. You can even join us on the social media pages. And now I think it's time to get on with the questions. So let me pull up my laptop. I'm expecting a massive flow of questions today. So let's get on with it. Okay, so here's the first question of the day. It is from S. Abdullah from Lucknow. He asks, how is the new pattern of IIT JEE going to be in 2013? Well, Abdullah, IIT JEE pattern is going to change from next year. It's going to be such that there are going to be 2 papers. The first paper is going to be called the IIT JEE mains paper, which is going to be an objective type paper. The minimum criteria to be able to write the paper is going to be 50% in your board exams, right? All the students are going to write this paper. On the basis of the marks that you obtain in this paper, 1.5 lakh candidates only are going to be chosen, who are then going to be eligible to write the second paper, which is going to be called IIT Advanced. This IIT Advanced paper is going to be held at least a month after the IIT mains paper is going to be. Right? The exact dates and everything are not yet announced, but my guess is that there should be at least a month's gap between IIT mains paper and the IIT Advanced paper. Now these 1.5 lakh candidates, it's not sure that all the 1.5 lakh candidates will be eligible to write the advanced paper or not. That is so because there is an additional eligibility criteria for the students to take the advanced exam, and that is that they should be in the top 20 percentile of their board exam. So once you fulfill these 2 requirements, that is you are in the top 1.5 lakh in the IIT mains paper and that you stand in the top 20 percentile of your boards, only then will you be able to write the IIT advanced paper. And then this IIT advanced paper will most likely be of the same pattern that was held in IIT 2012. Okay. So, and the rest obviously is whatever marks you get in the IIT advanced paper, your rank in the merit list is going to be based on those marks. So that is the new pattern of IIT JEE. Okay. So let's move on to the next question. The next question is from Aisha. She is from Amritsar, Punjab. And she seems to be having difficulty in solving physics numericals. Now that's a very commonplace question for me. I can understand that a lot of students face difficulty in solving numerical problems in physics, especially when they are in the class 11th. See, students who come into class 11th, they would not have found any difficulty up till class 10th because there was hardly any concept that was taught in school up till class 10th. After class 11th, a lot of additional concepts and fundamentals are taught to the students. Students are not able to understand the concepts in the classroom, which is why they only rely on the formula that is taught to them or that is given in the book to solve the numerical problems. So you need to know that to be able to solve numerical problems in physics, you need to think physics and not maths. Students tend to think mathematics and try to apply formula to solve problems. That is not going to work in physics. So my advice would be to read the theory and the concepts, try and understand it rather than just learning the formula and trying to apply which formula will be fit for this problem. Don't think like that. Okay, so understand the concept and the theory, reread it if you haven't understood it, only then will you be able to solve the numerical problems. Okay, so I hope that clears up your query. Let's move on to the third question. The next question is from Sachin. Okay, so he asks me whether I had taken coaching for my IIT JEE preparation or not. So he asked a question for me, whether I had prepared for IIT JEE using some coaching or not. Well, Sachin, the trouble at my time was that I did not have any coaching institute near my house. Okay, so that was 1992 when I was in my 12th class. At that point in time, we never had any coaching institute. We did not have an organized coaching sector in the country. So you guys should be lucky that you have so many coaching institutes around you. You step out of your house and there are 10 coaching institutes. There are 10 organized players who are waiting to have you as a student and teach you. Right? So what we used to do was that we used to go to individual teachers to their houses, and we used to sit at on the dining table surrounding the teacher, and the teacher used to give us problems, and that was it. So if you ask me whether I went to any coaching institute or not, I never really went to an organized coaching institute. But yes, I did take coaching from group tuitions, you can say. Right? So informal group tuitions in the teachers' homes. That is what we used to do. And I had taken an additional correspondence course or a study material also. So my advice to you would be that even if you go in for a coaching, try and look for a very good additional supplement also, like a study material that will help you additionally. So okay, so I think I have time for one last question. So let me see who it is going to be. It is Robin. Okay, so Robin asks me, how many hours do I need to study to be able to effectively crack IIT JEE? So Robin, it's not about the number of hours. And to everybody out there, I'm just saying as a friendly advice, see, don't look at your studies and don't measure it with the number of hours that you are putting in with your studies. The number of hours is really not a good factor. See, 4 hours for you might be a long time, but I might be able to grasp whatever you are able to do in 4 hours in just an hour, because when I focus on my studies, my entire focus and attention is only on the book that I'm reading. Whereas you in those 4 hours might be thinking about the slap that you got in your class from your teacher, or you might be thinking about how you might be out there playing cricket with your friends, or the World Cup that is coming on television, or some other song that is playing in the next room, right? So your attention, if it is getting diverted here and there, then those 4 hours of study is really not going to be an effective one for you. So my advice to you would be, think in terms of the effective study rather than the number of hours that you study. Okay, so if you ask me how many hours did I put in, well, I put in a lot of hours. I had put in like on an average 10 hours daily. Okay, that is because my attention span was very limited. Okay, so a very good student might be able to do whatever I was able to do in 10 hours in just 3 hours time. Okay, so an effective study is required rather than a large quantitative amount of study. Alright, so we've come to the end of the webinar. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really look forward to having more such sessions in which I can interact with you all. But for that, you need to write in your reviews to me at my email address praveen.tyagi@meritnation.com. Right? Thank you so much and see you guys.